by, oh, we didn't record. Thank you, Peretz. By ma'anis, we didn't start yet, Baruch Hashem, right? It was just the hakdama. Again, just quickly. So if somebody is ma'anis, so if somebody's ma'anis a girl, he's required to give her 50 coins, and he's required to marry her, and he's not allowed to divorce her. If he's mafata her, which he just coerces her, convinces her, then the pasuk says he has to give her kesef, but it doesn't say how much kesef. And then we learn out from one to the other that it's 50 for both, but there he is allowed to divorce her if he coerces her. All right, so let's see. So the Mishnah starts. So it's a very interesting parak, because if you learn it be'ian, you can go slow as molasses. But if you don't learn it be'ian, then the Gemara is the Gemara. There's just a lot of lumdis, which we'll try and touch on some of it, but we're obviously not going to go too deep.
Mafata's baratzen?
He seduced her, yeah. He seduced her.
But it can't just stop to be baratzen. It has to be where he I don't know what do they call it in the word? He groomed her and he
seduced her.
I understand, but when she's having relations, she's doing it baratzen?
Yeah. It's if you call it baratzen, if you can call that ratzen, yeah.
I'm asking you, if it's not baratzen, it's rape.
So correct. Then it's obviously it's something different than ba'anis. It's two different things.
So if it's baratzen,
so what are you asking?
I'm asking.
It's called by the goyim. It's called zev. It's called by the goyim statutory rape. That's what I think. I don't know for sure if this works according to statutory rape. Is rape of a guy that sleeps with a woman less baratzen, less than 18 years old. I think it's 18. Comparing the goyish law to the Yiddish law. Right, it's called statutory rape, which is essentially we look at it.
But I'm asking, is mafata over a certain age?
Going to be the same with the we're going to have Machlokes exactly what the ages are, but it's not more than 12 and a half. It's not more than 12 and a half, right? I think so. Ma'anis for sure not, but mafata also not. Yeah, so it's basically what it is. It's considered rape because of the underage part of it that he convinced her. So she's not considered like she had a mind of her own. That's mafata, right? Once she's a gadol, so a gadol's baratzen.
Why is it straight out ma'anis?
Because he wasn't ma'anis her. Lamaisi, he convinced her to say yes. He convinced her to say yes. So, right?
She was 9 years old. He convinced her.
You're gonna say, Zev, what do you want to say? That all of us that suckered somebody to marry us, we also mafata them because we got them to say yes. Okay, that's a fair point. Right? You assume that they're adults, so that
maybe that's why Rabbi is jumping out of his skin. Okay, it'll be okay.
Hey. Anyway, okay. So talk to Mishnah. Elu naaros sheyesh lehem knas. So basically, you have to give a knas. So the chiddush of this Mishnah is that even a naira that you're not allowed to be married to, you still have to give the knas, even though the knas is associated with you give the knas, and you also have to. You give the knas, and you also have to marry her. But here in the situation where you're not allowed to marry her, so you would think, so you don't have to pay the knas if you're ma'anis her. So there's a Mishnah is coming to tell us, no, you do have to. Right? So elu naaros sheyesh lehem knas. These are nairos that have knas. Aval mamzeres, vala nesina, vala kusis. So all those three, obviously, a yid is not allowed to marry. You're not allowed to marry a mamzeres. You're not allowed to marry a nosin, and you're not allowed to marry a kusis. But even so, if a guy rapes them, he's mechuyev to give them the knas. Now, these are all obviously people should niftu for sheniskai or. We already discussed it a while ago that it's in a different order, right? It's giyoris, shvuya shivcha, so it should be niskairu, nishtachru, and then niskairu, niftu, nishtachru. Why the Mishnah changes the order? Right? It's an interesting thing, but the Mishnah changes the order. But either way. So any of those that they were freed, if they were freed before they were 3 years old, they also have a din of basula, right? Because we learned that let's say even if they were raped when they were less than 3 years old, but the mice of the basulim grow back, so therefore they have a chazaka the basulim, and therefore you have to pay the knas. That's the first set of in the Mishnah. The second set is even bigger chiddush. A guy's ma'anis his sister and his aunt, and his aunt from his mother, and his sister-in-law, and his brother's wife, and the wife of his father's brother, And on a nida, yesh lehem knas, they all have knas, even though he's over here on chorus, right? So, and there's no marriage at all, right? They all have a knas.
Brother's wife is Mishas Erison?
What?
Or his father's brother's wife?
Yeah.
How would she be a basula otherwise?
That's what you have to say. It's either Erison or they never had bia. Right? They never consummated the marriage. Right? So all these, ain't bekaris, ain't ben misas bezdin, even though they don't have karis, this last thing is saying something different. Because there's something called kamle b'derabimine. Right? So meaning you have to give them the punishment that's the higher punishment. They don't get two punishments, they only get one. Right? So basically, since they only get one punishment and not the other, so they get the more chomer. So since they get the more chomer one, so here they're going to get the more chomer one. So why is it that they have to pay the knas? They shouldn't have to. So the Mishna is telling you that you do have to, because even though they have karis, but they don't have misas bezdin, meaning it's only time when you only get one punishment and not two is if there's a bezdin, if there's a punishment for bezdin. But since these are karis, and that's a punishment from Hashem, so therefore you have to pay the knas, because Hashem takes care of his own punishing, and bezdin takes care of their own punishing. So therefore, we don't say that they're already getting punished with the major punishment. They shouldn't get the lighter punishment. We don't say that. At least our Mishna is saying that now. We don't say that by when there's karis, right? Okay.
Isn't it a
again,
Machlokes
there's 2 points in the Mishna. That what?
By knas.
Yes, this point. There's going to be cholkim. Yeah, there's going to be cholkim on that. Yeah. So okay, but again, the Mishnah is saying 2 points. One, even if the person can't marry her, he still has to pay knas if he rapes her. And the second point is, even though we say kam levied, normally once you get a punishment, a major punishment, you don't have to do the lighter punishment. But by karis, we don't say that. By karis, we look at it like it's Hashem's punishment, and Bezdin gives their own punishment. Okay. So Zok the Gemara, the Gemara asks, Hani naaros tzules islu knas ksheros lo. It sounds like only if you're ma'anis somebody who you're puzzled to, you give the knas. What about ksherim? What about ksheros? So the Gemara answers, Hachi kamar. Elu naaros psulas sheyesh lam knas. These are naaros psulas that have a knas. Habo elam zeres v'alanasino alakusis. Meaning these are the ones that are puzzled that have a knas. But of course, a kosher is going to have a knas. It's just saying the chiddush that even though they're puzzled, still they're going to have knas. Fine. So the Gemara says, now we get into the age. Now we get into Machlokes over what the age is. So the Gemara says, na'ara in katana loy. So only a na'ara gets the knas. A katana does not. Mantana, who's the tana? Rabbi Yehuda Rav Meir. It's Rav Meir. The Tanya katana mibas yom echad va'ad shetavi shtei sayros. A katana from when she's 1 day old until she hits puberty, till she gets 2 sayros. Yesh lo mecher. The father's allowed to sell her. Ve'ein lo knas, but she doesn't get a knas up to that age. Meaning, he's saying that once you don't have both. Meaning, if the father has the ability to sell her, then she doesn't get a knas. Again, a father has the ability to marry off his daughter to whoever he wants, and he could marry and he could sell his daughter as a slave to whoever he wants. Try that, bisman hazeh, right? But if he has the ability to do that, then there's no knas if somebody rapes her. Once she hits shtei sayros until she becomes a begeres, right? Which is essentially till around 12 and a half. Yesh lo knas, then she gets the knas. Ve'ein lo mecher, but her father's not allowed to sell her. Divrei Rameir. Shai Rameir Reimer. Kol makom sheyesh mecher ain't knas. Where the father can sell her, there's no knas. Kol makom sheyesh knas ain't mecher. And if there would be a knas if she was raped, then the father's not allowed to sell her. So
there's no knas to the
other.
father if he could sell her, or the father doesn't get the knas.
No, there's no knas at all.
There's no knas whatsoever.
Yes.
Doesn't go to anyone. Yeah. Okay.
It's but there's no knas. But you're going to be mechuyev al tzchavala, meaning it would actually be, she could actually make more money depending on the type of person she is, right?
Depending on the other.
Right. If she's miyuchas, right, then is that she would probably get paid a lot.
Right. Meaning because of chavala. Right. The knas is in addition to other damages that the guy does to her.
Right.
Right. Yes, it's in addition to other damages. Correct. Yes. So that's Shitas Rameir. A katana from when she's 3 years old until she's a begeres yesh lo knas, she has a knas. Right, so it's mashma, she only has a knas. But what about mecher? So the Gemara says, So knas in mecher loy. She only says from 3 years old until she is 12 and a half, let's say, she gets a knas, but in mecher loy, but she's not allowed to be sold by the father. How could that be? So Ema on Amud Beis now. It says Ema af knas b'makom mecher. No, the Chachamim hold that you can have both. Zira Meir said you either have one or the other. Either you have mecher or you have knas. And Chachamim say no, you could have a knas and mecher, right? Meaning the father is allowed to sell her, and if she gets raped, she's going to get the knas. Fine. So that's a machlokes tonight. So the Gemara asks, "V'hani b'nei knasa nenu?" Are these people mamzeres, nesina, and all that? Are they b'nei knasa? V'amai, ikrikan. We read here in the pasuk. What does it say in the pasuk? It says v'loy siya leisha. Right after he rapes her, then she has to be to him to a wife. Isha haruyaloi. It has to be an isha that's right to him. So that means it has to be a woman who he could marry. So since he can't marry this woman, right? Since he can't marry this woman, so then he shouldn't have to give a knas. Na'ara, ha na'ara. No, it says in the pasuk the word na'ara, ha na'ara. Chad legufei. One is just coming to tell you the din that has to be a na'ara. And one is coming to include chayve lavin. And one's coming to include chayve krisis. That even though chayve lavin and chayve krisis you're not allowed to marry, but if you were ma'anis them, you have to pay the knas. So it's basically a drasha from the Torah. But Papa Amar, he says from different source. Besulos, habesulos. And it comes from 3 times that it says besulos. Chad legufei, v'chad l'asuyei chayve lavin. One is coming to it, and one's for lavin, one's for krisis. Same limud, 2 different words. Rav Papa, my time, okay, how come Rav Papa, who says from the word basula, doesn't say like Rish Lakish from Naira? He needs to go darshan like what Abaya says. Let's say he's ma'anis her, and then she dies, right? Meaning, before they did the knas, before they bezdin decided that she's going to pay a knas, so he's potter. He doesn't have to pay the knas to the bride. The knas normally goes to the father, but he doesn't have to. She gives it to the father of the naira, not to the father of somebody who's dead. So therefore, as a pasuk, if she dies, then he saves his knas money. Okay, for Rish Lakish, my time, how come Rish Lakish doesn't go like Rav Papa? Why does he not learn out from the word basula? When we violate Gzeira Shava, he needs it for Gzeira Shava. The Tanya Kesef Yishkol Kamayar Absulis. It says by Mefata, where he convinced her, it says he should give Kesef Yishkol, right? Kesef of Kamayar Absulis, like the worth of the Psulis. But it doesn't say the price. So it's saying Shehezek Kamayar Absulis, that this one, meaning Ma'anis, should be like Mayar Absulis, and Mayar Absulis Kazeh. And the Mayar Psulas should be shkolim, like it says by Ma'anis, right? Meaning we're learning out from the Fata to Ma'anis, we're learning it back and forth, right? One is telling us that it's what type of money it is, and one is telling us how much, so it's 50, right? So Rish Lakish needs to learn Abaya's din, and Rav Papa needs to learn the Gzeira Shava. Ella, so the Gemara says something interesting. The Gemara merges the 2 shitas. Ella, Shisa, Kroi, Ksivi, there's 6 psukim. Naira, ha naira, Basula, basulas, ha basulas. Trei Lukufayu, 2 are to teach the din itself. Right? So it has to be a naira and a basula. Chad lekada Abaya. 1 is to teach Abaya's din, but Chad lekzera shava, and 1 is to teach Gzeira Shava. Ayasru le trei. So we're left with 2. Chad lasuye chayve lavin. 1 is to include chayve lavin, v'chad lasuye chayve krisis, and 1 is to teach chayve krisis. So it's interesting. It's basically the same din. Just how we go about mixing the two limudim together. Meaning each one independently doesn't work, but if you merge the 2, then you have enough psukim for everybody to be happy. Okay, so so that's the background. Now we get into La Fuke Ma'atana. Our Mishna is coming to exclude a Tana de Tanya V'lo Yisiya Leisha. What do you learn out? That he has to be a wife, that she has to be able to be a wife. Shimon hatimni Omer Isha sheyesh bo havaya. It has to be a woman who who you could possibly marry. Meaning, when you get married, it has to be a woman that you can marry. Meaning, it has to be a woman that's not assur. No, it has to be a wife that you have to actually keep. Meaning, we learned this in Yavamis. We said there's different types of women. There's women that you're not allowed to marry at all. Then there's women that if you marry them, the kedushin is still kedushin, meaning she is considered your wife. You're just not allowed to stay married to her. And then there are those that the kedushin is not even a kedushin. So we said, like, if you say Arei Mekudeshli to your sister or to your mother, that's nothing, right? That's nothing. Chiyav Karis, Memela, the kedushin doesn't take hold. Yeah, mamzerim or mamzeres, nesina, these type of things, there the kedushin will be a kosher kedushin, but you have to get divorced, right? So that's the difference. So our Tana is coming to exclude Shimon and Temani and Shimon and minasya, who hold that there is no knas on a mamzeres or nesina and all that because you weren't allowed to marry. Well, according to Shimon and Timnei, there isn't because you're not allowed to. There's no kedushin. And according to Shimon Minasya, you can't stay married. So Gemara asks, yeah, so my benayu, what's the difference between these two? What's the difference between these two sheets? I mean, what's the practical nafkamina between these two? Right? So the Gemara answers, just lost the place. My benayu, mamzeres and nesina given out. The difference between them is a mamzeres and nesina, where you're not allowed to marry them, right? And so let's see. According to Mandomar, it says that if you get married, the marriage is a marriage, and you still have to get divorced. So then you have it. The one that says that no, in order to have a knas, it has to be roy to be makayim it. You can't be makayim these, right? Because you're not allowed to stay married to them. So that would be the difference between the two shitas. Either way, our Mishnah is not going with these two shitas because our Mishnah says you do give a knas, right? Our Mishnah says you do give a knas. Reb Shimon and Temani and Reb Shimon and Menashe would hold that you don't give a knas, right? Fine. Now we have the famous Rebbe Kiva, right? We had this many times. Rebbe Kiva's shita is that kedushin doesn't work even by lavin, right? That was Rebbe Kiva's big chiddush, and what comes out according to Rebbe Kiva is that if kedushin doesn't work, then the kids are mamzer, right? The kids are mamzer from that. So that's what comes out a big chiddush according to Rebbe Kiva. So now according to Rebbe Kiva, that kedushin ties with chayv lavin my benayu. So now what's the difference between these two shitas? Meaning, if both of these shitas go according to Rebbe Kiva, right? If they both go according to Rebbe Kiva, then both of them are hold that there's no marriage, and of course they're not even allowed to maintain them. So if that's the case, what's the difference between these two opinions? So Yikebenayu almana l'kohen gadol. It's the difference between them is an almana to the kohen gadol. To Reb Simai, it's like Reb Simai. The Tani Reb Simai, Reb Simai says, "Men hakol oiser Rebbe Akiva mamzerin." Rebbe Akiva made everybody mamzerin. Puts me almana l'kohen gadol, except for almana l'kohen gadol. Now, how do you have an So you have an almana who's marrying a kohen, and he's raping them. Sorry, the kohen gadol is raping the almana, right? He says he's not allowed to take her, and he's not allowed to make her into a chalol. Chalulin hu oisa. He makes her into a chalol, ve'ein oisa mamzerin, but it will not make mamzerin. So even according to Rebbe Kiva, she is not become a mamzer from this. So that would be the difference between these two opinions, right? So Shimon Hatimni would say that lamaisa the marriage would work, at least the kedushin works. So therefore, according to him, there would be a knas. But according to Reb Shimon ben Menasya, right, Reb Shimon ben Menasya, that it's not an isha that he could maintain. Obviously, the kohen gadol can't stay married to the almana, so therefore he would not have to pay a knas. That would be the difference. Fine. So Rabbi Sheva, who disagrees, let's go scream at Akiva and Yosef. Shahaya Omer, because he said, Kol she'ein le bia b'Yisrael havlad mamzer. Right? If there's no bia, Kol she'ein le bia b'Yisrael havlad mamzer. If there's no bia, if meaning according to Yidden, you're not allowed to have bia, then the vlad is a mamzer. So my benayu, what's the difference between them? Because according to the way Rabbi Sheva understands Rabbi Kiva, that any illicit relationship makes a mamzer. Again, we're having Rav Simai and Rabbi Sheva, we're having a Machlokes in what Rabbi Kiva held. right? Reb Simai held that any lav is going to make a mamzer, and therefore it's no marriage. There's no kedushin at all. That's any lav, right? But a mitzvah say not, and Rabbi Shevav holds no. It's any beer that's awesome. So what's going to be the difference between for him? On to the next Amud. We're going to go the next Amud to make up for Tisha B'av. So chayve essay, not Tisha B'av, Shabbos Tisha B'av. Chayve essay, Bezashem will have Motzei Tisha B'av. Chayve essay, mitri ve'adaimi. So it would be a chi of essay that's a mitri and a daimi, right? Because there it's not a lav. There it says that it's a mitzvah to say that you shouldn't take them, right? So therefore that's not a lav. So according to Rabbi Sheva, right, then there's not going to be a problem because there's no lav there. But according to, did I mix it up? Yeah, according to Rabbi Simai, it's not a problem because it's not a lav. According to Rabbi Sheva, it is a problem because they were assur to be together. Now the Gemara asks a technical question on this. So Hanich Rabbi Sheva, it would make sense according to Rabbi Sheva, Ilaf who give me time with Rabbi Simai, because if Rabbi Sheva was coming to exclude Rabbi Simai's, right? Rabbi Simai said if it's a lav, then Rabbi Kiva holds that it's out, that you're out, right? And then Rabbi Yesheva comes along and says, no, it's any assur beer. So shopper, then it works because that's what he's disagreeing with. But if it's Rabbi Yesheva talking by himself, and he says anything that you're not allowed to have a relationship. In Klal for Klal Yisrael, the vlad is a mamzer. And even if it's a chayve essay, my benayu. So then, what's the difference between the two? Meaning, he would hold, right? Kedushin is not going to work even for a mitzri and a daimi. So what would be the difference? Like an odd case. It would be a case of a woman who's a ba'ula and a kohen gadol's ma'anasa. Meaning, kohen gadol's not allowed to live with anybody other than a basula. But she's not married though. So since she's not married, he doesn't have. There's a lav and an essay. One is that he has to be with a basula. The other one is that he's not allowed to be with somebody that's married. So Mamela, here you don't have the married part. All you have is the ba'ula part. So that would be the difference between the two. Mishna. So then how come the Gemara is asking now, what's the difference? Why is it that a basula to a kohen gadol? So Rabbi Sheva holds that the kid is a mamzer. But the kedushin the kedushin doesn't work. So what's up shot? So he says because it's a mitzvah say that's not equal to everybody. Meaning this is only a mamzer and a nosin, which is a problem because that's everybody. I'm sorry, not mamzer. Mitzvah and a daimi is a mitzvah say, but everybody in Klal Yisrael is equal that they're not allowed to marry mitzvah and a daimi. But a ba'ula to a kohen gadol is only negaya to a kohen gadol, so therefore it doesn't have the same severity. Okay, that's a little bit technical. That's a little bit of the harder part of the daf. Now we get into a more an easier part. So Omar Rav Chisda,
Rabbi Tzviakov.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, I think it's interesting. Rabbi Sheva is brought here 3 days before Tisha B'av. He's one of the assur harogei malchus. So is Rabbi Kiva.
Rabbi Kiva, yeah. Rabbi Sheva, I don't remember.
Rabbi Sheva is also.
Does it call him a
Rabbi Sheva has Seifer.
Rabbi Sheva Seifer, right? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's interesting. And then the bottom of the daf also. Okay, let's see. So Amar Rav Chisda. Yeah. Everybody agrees. Like in the Mishna, we said one of the things is that if he's ma'anis, a girl who's a nida, so even though he's chayiv kares because he was sleeping with a nida, but he still pays a knas. Why? Because we don't say kamli b'derami. We don't say give the punishment that he already had a punishment that's strong, because that punishment is kares that comes from Hashem. Right? So everybody agrees to that. So Lamandam yesh b'havaya, according to the mandama that says that it has to be a woman that he could marry. Hanami yesh b'havaya, he could marry her. The mandama ruya l'kaima, and the one that says it has to be a woman he can stay married to. Hanami ruya l'kaima. Every nida. You're eventually she won't be a nida, and then you're going to be mutter. So again, this Gemara seemingly is a proof, not like the Rambam, that you could have a chupas nida and the kedushin is still a good kedushin, right? We said the Rambam holds that if a woman's a nida, the kedushin is no good because it's not roy labia. Okay, that's a whole sugya That's
But
also
Yaakov, I don't understand the pshitas of this Gemara. Like, of course, to me, this is pashut. Like, just because at the moment that you were bailer and you're ma'anis, she was a nida, doesn't mean that you can't marry a woman. A woman that becomes a nida, all of a sudden you can't ever marry her. Like, what's the Gemara's having?
no, it's not. Meaning, it's right. I don't think
cares
Gemara
that
has
you,
a
who cares that you're ma'anis while she's a nida? What does that have to do?
right.
Being
I don't
able
think
to marry her.
I don't think the Gemara ever had a havamina.
So what?
The Gemara is just saying that everybody
a
agrees.
davar pashut?
Yeah, I think it's a davar pashut.
Why? What do you need a rechlis for? I could have told you that.
And a chanami.
No,
I guess.
he obviously has been machadish something here. I'm just trying to understand what.
I think it's just no. I think the chiddush is that one way to say the chiddush is that you're allowed to marry somebody who's a nida, right?
Right, but I'm
That's
saying
not
for
pashut.
the
The
Gemara,
Rambam
it's
doesn't hold.
mashma that if you're
Rambam holds you
ma'anis her, you owe. Who said you have to marry her while she's a nida? You ma'anis her, and you did more than just ma'anis her. You ma'anis a nida, but
right.
you
But
can marry
if you
her after
hold,
she's a nida, when she's not a
but
nida anymore.
if you hold at that second, well, you could say the same thing if you're ma'anis a guy, right? She could be misah, she could be megayer eventually, but that's not how it's gonna go. It goes past what it was right then and there. That's what at least the Gemara.
You need to be able to. Why do you have to be able to marry her at that moment? Who said that's what the Torah is saying?
I don't know, but clear that's what the Gemara is saying.
I'm saying, but where does he get that from? That the Torah is saying you have to be able to marry her at that moment.
No, he's saying you would have thought that.
Why do you have to say that you have to marry her in that moment?
Okay, I hear.
You have to be able to potentially marry her.
Okay, and no, I hear what you're saying. I hear. Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's see. This is all coming to exclude Reb Mechunim ben Elkanah. The Tanya, and this sheet of Reb Mechunim ben Elkanah is going to take us to the next block. The Tanya, Reb Mechunim ben Elkanah, says Yomi Kippurim b'Shabbos, the Tashlumin. He made Yom Kippur like Shabbos for payment. Ma Shabbos mischayev b'nafsha u'poter min tashlumin. Just like Shabbos, you chayev misah and you potter from paying. Af Yom Kippurim mischayev b'nafsha you poter min tashlumin. You chayev with your soul and you potter from min tashlumin. What this means is basically somebody lights somebody else's field on fire on Shabbos. So there's two punishments. There's a chiyuv misah if it was done by hasra. There's a chiyuv misah because he was machal Shabbos. He also has to pay for the guy's field. So do we say if we say that this you only get the harder, the stricter punishment, the harder punishment, then he's potter from paying for the field, right? Because he's already chayiv misa. But do you say the same thing on Yom Kippur when it's chorus, right? So on Yom Kippur when it's chorus and he burns a person's field on Yom Kippur, so does the fee of chorus make it that he's potter from the payment? So Reb Mechunim ben Elkanah holds that he is potter. Right, not like our Mishnah, who says you are chayiv to pay a knas even though you're chayiv chorus, right? By the way, this whole concept of kamli b'derabim is easy to understand if the punishment is meaning if somebody does a double damage to a guy, so he only has to pay for the higher damage. But here, one is between Hashem and one is between bein adam l'chaveira, because a guy decides to burn my field on Shabbos, therefore I don't get paid. Right? Meaning what? He does Machal Shabbos. Why should I lose out? Because the guy was Machal Shabbos. If he burned down my field on Sunday, I'd get the whole field paid for. He did it on Shabbos, so therefore I lose out. Right? I'm saying it's not such an easy concept to understand how this punishment thing works.
Well,
but either way,
where does the whole idea of owing money come from? It comes from assur. Without levied, you wouldn't have a din. You wouldn't have a din of any money.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's what
the
you have to say.
The parameters to being owed something is because of levied.
Right. No, right, but it's conceptually it's not so easy. Right?
What? It's not from levied though.
No, what do you mean? It's damage. It's damages.
Eid Devarim have nothing. There's no assur involved in Eid Devarim and Hazik. There's no assur to be mazik.
You're stealing every single time you mazik somebody.
Okay, that's a whole different. That's a whole. We're not going down the road.
I'm just saying you're violating my.
Saying that's a big
property.
Machlokes, right? That's a Machlokes.
All right, he said enough. We'll discuss it afterwards.
No, when we get to these sugyas.
All right, so we're in tomorrow's daf already. What's the issue?
Yeah.
Issue is we let you get away with the side note.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways. So but again, Reb Mechunim ben Elkanah hold that this kamli b'derabim even on chorus. So therefore, he would hold in our Mishnah all these women would be potter from knas. The one that slept with was Ma'anis, his sister and his aunt and all these things, they would be potter from the knas. So anyways, my time the Rimchunim, how does he know? Amar Abaya, Nemar Asan b'dei Adam, v'Nemar Asan b'dei Shemayim. So it says Asan. Now, very interesting. It's very interesting when you have a limud from Bereshis, right? Because you don't get many limudim from Bereshis, but here we're having a limud from Bereshis. Why? Because it says Asan b'dei Adam, right? That's talking about the pasuk says V'lo yeh asan anish yanish, right? Meaning if there was no asan, meaning nobody died, then he gets punished, right? So we're talking about that the guy that was beat up is not how does it go? If he's not beat up, if the guy didn't die, if the guy that was beat up doesn't die, right? So then the person doing the beating is not chayav misah, right? And this is talking about again where this is actually the abortion Gemara, where the woman didn't die, but the fetus died. So she didn't die, so then he has to pay for the fetus, right? So that's what that's talking about. So it says asan, which means death. V'nemer asan b'dei shemayim, and it says asan b'dei shemayim. What was that talking about? By Yaakov Avinu, when he told the Shvatim, he's not letting Binyamin go down to Mitzrayim. He said because he doesn't want asan, so he doesn't want an asan to happen to him. Which now, what does that asan mean? So ma asan amar b'dei adam pater min tashlum. So the asan that we're talking about, b'dei adam, makes you pater from tashlum, and you're pater from paying. Meaning, if the person damages, theoretically, if he would have killed the person, let's say he would have killed the mother, the pregnant mother, he would be pater from the fetus because he killed the mother, right? So he only has to get the punishment for killing. He gets a punishment for killing the mother. He doesn't get the punishment of paying for the fetus. So it's bidei adam. So afas and amar bidei shemayim pater min tashuman. But the asan that Yaakov Avinu was talking about bidei shemayim, and therefore we're going to learn out that just like the asan bidei adam makes you pater from payment, so too it was an asan bidei shemayim. You're also going to be pater. So therefore, if somebody is going to get punished min shemayim, let's say karis, so therefore he's going to be still pater from paying. So now, who says? Now the Gemara is going to ask the obvious question: who says that Yaakov Avinu was worried about? How do you call it? God, act of God. Maybe he was worried about humans, right? The Gemara is assuming that it was talking about bidei shemayim that he was worried about. Maybe it was from humans. Maskoler of Adabarava mimai dechi kamazulu Yaakov l'baneh al tzinim upachim, that he's warning his kids on seen him cold and hot to bidei shemayim, to know that that's called bidei shemayim, meaning if you don't deal with the elements properly, then and something bad happens to you, then that's bidei shemayim. Dilma al arya v'gan bidei adam ninu. Maybe he's worried about lions and ganovim, which is bidei adam, and therefore both asans are talking about bidei adam, and you don't have a limud. Again, his whole limud was based on that the asan is bidei shemayim, and he's comparing the asan bidei shemayim to the asan b'dei adam, but maybe the asan that Yaakov was talking about was b'dei adam also. So atu Yaakov aha azar aha lo azar, was Yaakov warning them about one and not on the other? Yaakov akol mili azar. He was worried about all the things. He was worried about.
It's before Kabbalah. It's before Kabbalah Satori. How you bring rise from what he did?
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a good point. It's an interesting. It's not really bringing a din. We're not bringing a din. We're just using it as a that the word asan could mean bidei shemayim and bidei adam. That's all. We're not really learning out from Yaakov. We're just learning out that asan could mean even bidei shemayim. So that's what. So the Gemara is answering now. Yaakov was worried about both. So included in both is bidei shemayim. So therefore, we have to say that even when somebody gets punished bidei shemayim, he's going to be pater from the smaller punishment. So then the Gemara gets involved with a major hashkafic issue. Is cold and heat bidei shemayim? Meaning a guy goes to the North Pole and goes without a coat, and then he dies. That you're going to call that bidei shemayim, or you're going to call that bidei adam? Right? Vatani will learn the rice. I'll call bidei shemayim chutz mitzin and pachim. Everything is bidei shemayim except for cold and hot. Shenemar tzin and pachim b'derech ikesh shaymer nafsha yirchak mehem. It's cold and hot on the derech, and b'derech ikesh, it's in the path of the derech and the roads of ikesh, somebody who's messed up. Shemer nafshe yirchak mehem, and somebody who watches himself should stay far away. That's one. So you see clearly that tzinim pachim is not bidei shemayim. V'su arya v'gan bidei adam ninu, and our lions and crooks bidei adam. V'amar Rav Yaitzev v'chein tani Rav Chiya miyam shechara beis hamikdash, right? Which is quite interesting. That's already ches Zion. Zion is when the beis hamikdash was broken into, which is why Rav Moshe Feinstein held that you shouldn't make siyumim already on Zion, because the beis hamikdash is already broken into, which is a chiddush from Rav Moshe. But okay, but miyam shechara beis hamikdash. Sanhedrin, even though right once Sanhedrin disbanded, there's no longer capital punishment, right? But Arba Misas Leibatu, the Arba Misas weren't Batul. The Gemara says Leibatu. The Arba Misas were not Batul, Batul. There's no such thing as giving punishments to Arba Misas. Ella, the Gemara goes on to Amid, Din Arba Misas Leibatu. The din of 4 Misas wasn't Batul. What does that mean? Mishna is Chayav Skila. Somebody who's chayav skila, say neifel min agag or chayav dersasa, either a fall from a roof or a wild animal will trample him. Umishin is chayav sreifa, somebody who's chayav to be burned, or neifel b'dleika, fall in a fire, or nachash makishay, or a snake will put venom into him, so that's going to burn out his insides. Umishin is chayav harega, somebody who's chayav hereg, or nimsa lemalchus, either he'll be handed over to the malchus, or listam b'inalav, or they're going to have armed robbers. Umishin is chayav chenek. And somebody who's chayiv to chenek, to be choked, I taiva benar, he's going to either drown in a river, I may he's going to die with some sort of throat disease. Either way, so the Gemara, this is a scary Gemara. The Gemara is saying that somebody who is chayiv misa's bezdin will end up dying from any one of these ways, right? So that's what the Gemara. So you see, the Gemara is saying that these things are bidei shemayim. Don't say that a lion is not bidei shemayim. But we're saying here that if a lion eats somebody, so that means he was really chayiv some sort of misah. I don't know what you do with this practically nowadays. Ella epoch, so switch it. Ari v'gan bidei shemayim, and Ari and a ganav is bidei shemayim. Tzina mupachim bidei adam. Cold and hot is bidei adam because you can control it. You can control the weather. You can't control the weather, obviously, but you can control how you deal with the weather. Fine. So that was Abaya. Abai explains that Nechunim and Akana held from the word asan. Asan, that's how we know. That's how we know that somebody would still be chayiv to pay money even though he's chayiv karas. Rav has a different reason. Rav Amar time of the Nechunim and Akana mehacha. V'im halem yalimu amaretz eseinayim min ha'ish ha'u v'sita mizar l'malach. If everybody hides their eyes from this person who's giving his kids over to avodah zara, v'samti anias panai be'ishahu, and I'm going to put my face on that man. I'm going to give him karas. Right? So you see the person's chayiv karas if he gives over his kids to avodah zara. Amra Torah, the Torah says, karas shali kemisa shalachem. My karas is like your misah. Ma misah shalachem patur min tashlumin. Just like when you give misah, when Bezdin gives somebody misah, and the guy also owes money, so he's patur. Karas shali patur min tashlumin. So too my karas is also patur from tashlumin. Okay, so that's the limud. So why my ika bein Rav and Abaya? So I'm going to ask, what's the difference? What's the practical difference between Rav and Abaya? Right, meaning they're both saying the same din. So why are they having two different reasons? So there has to be a practical difference. Ika beinayu zar shachal truma. A zar meaning Yisrael who eats truma. Right. So there it's not karas, it's misah bidei shamayim. So now, meaning till now we were discussing misah's bezdin, which for sure has commonly been the Rabbi Minei, you only give him misah, he doesn't have to pay. And on the other hand, we had karis, which is bidei shamayim, so that we had a Machlokes, whether we say commonly the Rabbi. What about misah bidei shamayim, right? Which is that's different than karis. So Abaya, according to Abaya, that's going to be potter because Lamaisa, it's from shamayim. Well, the Rava chayiv, but according to Rava, it's chayiv. Right, because the pasuk said only about karas. The pasuk was referring to karas, not misah b'dei shemayim. So Gemara says, "Ula Abaya potter." So according to Abaya, you really potter. V'amar Rav Chisda Maida Rav Nechunya ben Akana. Rav Nechunya ben Akana is Maida. Right, begainav chel b'shechavir. Let's say a guy steals the fats. Right, chelev is a fee of karas. Right, so if you eat chelev from a behema, chelev from a chay is fine. If you eat chelev from a behema, so you chayiv karas. But here he stole the chelev and he ate the chelev. So now he did two isurim. He's a ganav and he's also chayiv karas. So begainav. So If somebody steals the chaylev of his friend, and then he eats a shu chayiv, he's chayiv. Why? Because he's chayiv in Geneva before he came to the Isser Chaylev. Meaning, first he had to pick up the fats from his friend. So now he's a crook. Now he's chayiv money. He didn't yet eat the Chaylev. When he eats the Chaylev, that came later. So since it came later, the Gemara is saying that it's two different isurim, and he'd have to be chayiv for both. Amud the beidna, the agve kanya. The second he picked it up, he was kaineh. So therefore, he's a ganav. And Mischayev benafshe lo yahava adafale, but he's not chayiv kares until he ate it. So hachanami. So here too, the agve kanya. The minute that he picked up the truma, he's a crook, right? Because it's all about a Yisrael who's eating a kohen's truma. So obviously he's stealing from the kohen. Mischayev benafshe lo yahava adafale, and he's not chayiv misah until he eats it. So he should be chayiv both. So Gemara answers, so now we're talking about he never picked up the chaylev. We're talking about where his friend stuck the chaylev into his mouth. So at the same, when is he kind of the chaylev? When it went down his throat. That happened at the exact same time as he was chayiv. So therefore it did come at the same time. That's why both chiyuvim came at the same time. So he's potter. So Gemara asks, even the leisa kanya, since he chewed it, he's kind it. Right? You're not chayiv until you swallow. Right? By the way, this is a Tisha B'av Gemara too. Can you take pills on Tisha B'av? Right? So swallowing is not considered derech achila. And these pills
nitcha you're allowed to.
Without a nitcha, even on a regular. And Yom Kippur too. Right? It's not with just swallowing.
I've been talking like that a whole day today about the nitchas.
Yeah, there you go. So anyways, but
if swallowing a pill isn't a problem, what's with all the weird people with suppositories?
Because there is a shita that says that swallowing is an issue, so therefore they want to go with all the opinions, so they use the suppository. We paskin that it has to be, if it's swallowed and it's not considered derech achila, so then it's okay. Right? But anyway, so he's talking about here, so he's saying maybe the Gemara is asking, maybe he's kaineh when he chews it, and he's not chayiv till he swallows it. So when answers going to right, Rabban, this is what we're learning in the Gemara in the morning, right? It's talking about where he stuffed it down his throat. He didn't even have a way to chew it, so he wasn't kaineh. He wasn't kaineh until it went down his throat. So the Gemara asks, Hey chidami, what's the case? If he's able to spit it back up, so then he's allowed to spit it back up. So then it's not at the same time, because he was able to spit it back up and he's not chayiv until it goes down his throat. And if he can't spit it back up, am I chayiv? So then why is he chayiv? Right? I mean, why should he be chayiv he never did anything wrong. He was forced into this. It's the guy stuffed it so far down his throat, he didn't even have a choice. So he was able to spit it up, but only very difficult for him to spit it up. So therefore, that's when he's going to be chayiv to eat it. Rapapa Amar, he says a different way. It's not talking about where he stuffed food of truma. He stuffed a drink. Let's say it was a smoothie made out of vegetables, and he put it down his throat. So therefore what? So right when it goes in his throat, once liquid goes into somebody's mouth, that's disgusting. Right? So then he's only chayiv for Geneva then, right? And then, no, am I saying it right? No. So since it went into his throat and it was disgusting, so therefore he wasn't yet chayiv. So when is it going to happen? It's going to happen both right when he swallows. That's when he's going to be chayiv, and that's when he's going to be considered being counted as a crook. So that's a second shot how it's possible that happened at two different times. Rashi Amar Bazar Shachal Truma Mishaloi. Talking about Razar ate his own truma, meaning he did a very pashut the Torah. Still now we're assuming that Azar ate truma. He's both a crook and he's eating truma, which is misah b'dei shemayim. But now we're saying no. It was a Yisrael who yarshin truma from his grandfather was a kohen, so he wasn't a crook. So what's going on here? So where's he chayim mammon then? So Bazar Shachal Truma Mishaloi. He's eating his own truma. Then on to Amar Aleph. The kara shirayin shel chaverin. At the same time, he tore the clothing of his friend. So therefore, that's the way he was over on two things. So it came, and those two came at the exact same time, and therefore he would be potter. But the chiddush of this last teretz is that comes out is that here it's two different people, right? Because it's the misahs for one thing, and his tashluman's going to somebody else. Meaning, till now we're talking about where he stole it from one person, and Mameli is being chayiv for whatever it is that he stole. Here, he's eating his own truma, which is one isser, and then he has another truma, another isser based on eating somebody else's thing, which is maybe two different people's things. Okay, I hope it was all understandable. And okay, so now tomorrow we do Shabbos's blot as Hashem, and then Sunday night we'll do after the fast. I don't know, we'll figure out how long after we'll do that. All right. What time tomorrow? What time is it Shabbos tomorrow?
6:30 tomorrow.
6:30 again. 6:30.
6:25.
So what time we could do it? 5:40. 5:40. It's not such a long. Okay.
Let's do 5:35 like last week.
5:30. Oh, we did last week 5:35. Okay, yeah. So 5:35.
And Matzah Tisha B'Av?
Matzah Tisha B'Av. What time is 42? Is when?
42. What's that? We hold 42 or 50? What do we hold?
Really 42. But again, those extra 8 minutes won't hurt.
42 is mamish early.
Yeah. That's what Batson we hold. 50. What time is Shkia?
Shkia is 8:04.
So late?
Yeah.
Shkia is 8:04. No. Yeah.
Yep.
Here, Shkia is 8:09 tomorrow. No.
It's 8:07 today here.
Oh, so then maybe Shkia is 8:15 here. Okay, so I don't know, 9:30ish. Let's do 9. Let's call it 9:30.
No, Meyer is 8:50, 8:45, whatever.
Why so late? Doesn't make sense. Shkia is at 8:04, and you're davening Meyer at 8:50. No,
too late.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, way too late. You should be davening Meyer like a half hour after, so you're done at 42.
Okay, so let's say Meyer is at 8:35.
Okay, so you're done at 9 o'clock. Let's say you're done with the ganze at 9 o'clock. Okay, 9:45. Show it 9:45. Yeah.
Meyer is 8:35. 8:35 in Farakoi. I see highlight Darche. What's it? Tisha B'Av. 8:35.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask you maybe
fast ends either 8:46 or 8:53. It says.
Okay, so let's call it 9:45.
Can I ask you maybe a stupid question?
Maybe.
It's probably a stupid question.
Okay.
Matzah Shabbos, if you can't have a veils on Shabbos, how can you start the fast before Shabbos ends?
Saying good.
Because it's Sheva al Tasa, meaning you're not actively. That's why it's a good question, but that's why you don't put on shoes and you still sit in a chair. But just not to eat is not showing anything. Many people stop eating shalosh shudas and then don't eat for the next 45 minutes before Meir.
But you're having in mind why you're not eating.
So what? But it doesn't look. If you go past the guy and you see him not eating, you're not going to say, "Oh, he's fasting on Shabbos." You just say, "Oh, he's not hungry now."
Is it a suffix that hour? Because that hour goes either way. Is that the reason that we do it like that?
What?
Do we do it like that al suffix that we don't know what that last hour is?
Yes, of course.
Right, I'm saying because ideally you got to make up your mind. Is it Shabbos or Sunday?
Correct, but that's what every Shabbos.
All right.
Every Shabbos, you don't know.
The last hour of every Shabbos is a suffix,
or the first hour, or both. Shabbos is only 24. A day is 24 hours. That's it. There's nobody denying that. We just don't know when that is, so we add another hour on.
But if we do Lamaisa, we do Malacha the first hour, right? Or whatever. We don't do Malacha, but you're more Makel the first hour.
What more Makel? In what way?
Makel till Ben Hashmashas. I don't know, candle lighting, whatever. You're Makel on stuff. Not you. I don't mean you, but I don't mean you, but we're makel on stuff the first hour, right? Till Banish Russias.
He's talking about buses getting stuck and they're able to drive.
Yeah, or whatever, or asking a guy to turn off your lights.
Yeah, okay, because there's a special din of Ben Hashmashas that they were more makel.
Right, but I'm saying we're not makel on the way out, or maybe we are we?
We are more makel on the way in than on the way out.
All right. Do we read anything into that, or it is what it is?
What?
I said,
There's
should
nothing
we
to read into that. No, nothing to read into that. What was there to read into that?
No, I'm saying levied, but it's the same, not 24 hours, right?
What?
It's the same, not 24 hours.
What do you mean it's not the same?
It is. I'm saying if the concept is that Shabbos is 24 hours, so we're going to be makel the first hour going into Shabbos because Shabbos can only be 24 hours, then why not say the same the other way around? If you're going to start Shabbos at 5 o'clock, so then it goes till 5 o'clock the next day and be makel on the last hour.
Harris, hit the recorder.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Yeah, no one wants to hear this.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Why aren't we makel the last hour of Shabbos?
It's not because of that. It's because of a suffix. The issue is that by muktzah, for example, there's no shvisa, so it didn't become muktzah really. So we make la muktzah the first Banish Mashas. Once the first Banish Mashas is passed, it's already muktzah. So you can't be making the next Banish Mashas. It is muktzah.
Right.
Things like that. The Chazal or Geyser, it needs to go through Banish Mashas to be assur. But once it's gone through Friday night Banish Mashas, it is assur. Everything's assur. So the second Banish Mashas, it doesn't become mutter again.
Right, I hear.
It just never became assur through Banish Mashas.
Okay, I hear.
Yeah, that's basically.
When is halacha l'maisa this year? Erev Tishbav is Friday or Shabbos?
That's the big machlokes. That's the big machlokes. The
and we're
misah.
paskening Shabbos l'maisa.
Yeah. And then you have the Veils Profesi, and that's the machlokes whether you're allowed to learn Shabbos afternoon.
Right.
Tiago, did someone ask you if they can ask their cleaning lady to do cleaning after chatzos?
I had a few people ask me that.
What's your psak?
Cleaning lady? It's in the sheet.
Right, but in the sheet you don't say laundry. You say cleaning the house and dishes, but you don't say laundry.
Of course no laundry.
Jacob, you can turn off the recording. Parrots bounce. Turn it off.
Why look for laundry?
Because there's an